welcome into our Running on Ice community segment with our award-winning contributor, Mary O'Connell. I didn't get a chance to say congratulations on Tuesday, but again, congratulations on being named this one of the big blogs of Cold Chain.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a huge surprise, and I think it took me a while to literally pick my jaw off the floor when I got that email. So yeah, big thanks to FeedSpot. They apparently like what we do on Running on Ice. So it's always nice to be recognized for your work.
Great stuff there as well. So let's talk about perishable e-commerce. And I feel like I know the answer to this question before I ask it, but I also feel like you're going to surprise me with something completely different that maybe I'm not expecting. But as you look at it, what makes perishable e-commerce so much more complicated than regular e-commerce?
Well, Bill, I'm so happy you asked. We actually dive pretty hard into it today. Our guest is Jason Park from Cold Cart, and basically normal e-commerce. So like if you let's stick with an apples to apples comparison, shall we? So if you get something like a FabFitFun box, it usually probably has like some snacks or some other fun little things in it, and it comes directly to your house on a subscription basis, and you love what's in the box, and it's fantastic. That's obviously direct to consumer e-commerce. You don't have to worry about how cold it gets. You don't have to worry about anything else. It just is there. Well, now with the rise of meal kits like your Blue Aprons, your Green Chefs, your what's the meat one? Butcher Box, they all have that same fulfillment requirement of, they want some services that are gonna fill the boxes for them, package them, send them out in the most efficient way possible. Well, the big issue here is that there are temperatures to contend with. And not just that, you have to find things that, like, for example, some of the stuff that you get in, your Blue Apron or your Green Chef or anything like that, it usually there's a frozen component to it or a very cold component to it. And that's very difficult to mitigate, especially if you don't necessarily have enough stock to fill up a 375,000 square foot warehouse. You have to find a warehouse that you can fit into that also happens to have the same temperatures that you do. So that's where it gets a little trickier, is that not only are you looking for warehouse space, you're looking for warehouse space with very specific parameters that you cannot just be like, it'll be fine if it's in a frozen warehouse instead of a refrigerated one.
And Mary, how does that complexity continue to push when we're looking at delivery? I can only imagine, of course, a lot of them having to go through refrigerated trailers, but also I know a lot of them have their own individual or specific packaging. How does that come into play, and does that add to the complexity as well?
Oh, absolutely. There is an entire sector of, well, first of all, packaging solutions are its own beast in and of itself. And then temperature controlled packaging solutions are well within the belly of that beast. And it is some of the most fascinating stuff that we've seen, because we're really kind of getting into that, the technology of having something stay cold and at a very set temperature. It could be in the middle of the desert and it's still at negative 17 degrees Celsius. And that balanced with the sustainability aspect of it, of more than just dry ice and cube and like lunch pack, ice packs. Sorry, I just completely forgot the word. So you have to kind of balance all of that out. And so one of the things that we see a lot is how, especially in direct-to-consumer packaging, is how do we keep our stuff cold, and we don't have necessarily, because the default is dry ice, but a lot of times dry ice isn't super economical to use on kind of like a consumer, where it's just they're gonna have to handle it specially. They're gonna have to put it in a thing or like put it in water to dissolve it. if they can just give them an ice pack, well, that's reusable, and they don't have to worry about someone potentially getting hurt by dry ice. So it's something that people are being more aware of. Is okay, so if I know that I'm going to deliver this box, this meal kit box, well, how long is it going to be outside? Because if it's going to go inside immediately, then I don't have to use as much, because it's going to go from the truck directly to the front door and into the house. But if I deliver it at noon and that person's not going to be home till like 4 or 5, well, it now has to sit on the porch for a couple hours. Well, how many hours? How cold is it outside? Is it hot outside? Is it the summer? It's different conditions like that have to kind of be planned for. That's why it is so much more important to get those accurate delivery times, those accurate lead times out for your direct to consumer stuff. Because if you know, for example, that this person's going to be home late, or like, you're going to have that, you're probably going to start those routes later. So that way you're getting them to their houses closer to when they're home.
So it's an interesting conundrum in the fact that obviously you can go from, say, for instance, factory to warehouse and warehouse to destination, but at the same time, you also have very individual plans for every individual box as well.
Absolutely. You treat in dry van, everything is treated the same. You just do the same thing over and over again. In cold chain, everything is treated differently, and you do that over and over again.
And Mary, we're looking at your upcoming show today. Can you tell us a little bit of a sneak peek as who you're going to have on and some of the talking points around that?
Yeah, so we are jumping into all things direct-to-consumer and cold storage warehouses with Jason Park, the CEO of Cold Cart. So we get a little off the rails, but in the best way. We go just kind of into kind of the state of the cold chain warehouse situation and what that kind of looks like and how it's different from a dry van situation. So it's a really fun conversation. It's nice and relaxed and chilled. And we really kind of break down what some of the complications are within, warehousing for cold chain, and how it is so much difficult to kind of source that extra capacity as you need it, and the unique solution that they have where they'll kind of lease you some space as long as you need it. So it's a really cool approach. And honestly, if you're going to tune into a good episode of Running on Ice, why not start today? It's at 2:00 Eastern.
Yeah, 2:00 Eastern, as mentioned. Newsletter also out today as well, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that newsletter is also going to be out at 2:00 Eastern. So 2:00 on Fridays is just a good time for all things cold chain.
Absolutely, there as well. Let me ask you one more question before we let you go. In terms of, obviously, we've been talking basically about even those companies, like you mentioned, Blue Apron, that are in, of course, the food industry. Does this apply to anything outside of the food industry as well, where you have to be that careful? Obviously, medicine being one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. That's something that we bring up a little bit in the episode today, is how, the direct-to-consumer, like Blue Apron, Green Chef, and everything like that is something that's really easily connectable with somebody. They kind of understand it, but it's something that's absolutely applied for pharmaceuticals, food, you name it. If it has to be stored at a cold temperature or something, you can't just store it on the back of a dry van. This absolutely applies to it. And that is a whole industry in and of itself.
Mary, thank you so much for joining us and shedding some light on this. Looking forward to your episode. And before we let you go, as our award-winning correspondent and host of Running on Ice, do you have any favorite perishable e-commerce sites that you use that you're a participant of?
I don't know that I do. I don't think I do. I don't usually do much meal kit things. I'm a bad supporter of the industry. I've used HelloFresh before, and they're pretty cool. But yeah, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm a bad supporter of the industry.
Well, I am a fan of HelloFresh.
Okay. All right. We'll give up for that, Jordan. Mary, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Right now, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Favorite Snap.